All right. Welcome back.
Yes.
Yeah. So, on the last section, we stop on basic formula. So we talk on sum, average, count, max, and mean. So now we want to move to some formulas, which is functions. So this function, the first function we are going to work on is if function. So the if function checks whether a condition is true or whether a condition is false. Hope you are seeing my screen.
Yes, yes.
So whenever we use if function in Excel or in our data, is for us to verify if a certain condition are true or if a condition are false, depending on the outcome. And the syntax for that is we need remember during the basic formula example that we did earlier, I said the first thing you need to know is to whenever you want to implement or whenever you want to use a formula, the first thing you need to do is to type your equal sign, your equal to sign. Then after that, it will follow by the function. Now, the syntax is equal to if, then followed by the logical test, then value if true, then value if false. Now, in this example, this is the example we're going to do, which is if A2 is greater than 10, is greater than 100, then it should return yes, or else it should return no. So the logical test, so I'm trying to explain this, then we go back to the practical. So this test is to verify that A2 is greater than 100. And if A2 is greater than 100, it will return yes. And if A2 is not greater than 100, that is less than or equal to 100, it will return no. Now, when do we use this kind of logical condition? Then the first is to make decision in Excel, that is pass or fail, eligible or not eligible. So now this particular function is mostly used whenever, for instance, if you have an e-commerce store or you are managing a product you want to sell and you think of maybe your organization said, okay, we want to know the number of people that are eligible for a discount. If the organization wants to implement a discount, let's say maybe 20% or 30% or 40% discount for their product, and they ask you as their administrative manager that help us generate, based on this customer, help us generate a cell that shows that a particular customer is or are eligible for that particular discount depending on the total number of products they have purchased with your organization. So this is how to use, this is where to use the if function. Then it also to flag values that meet a specific rule and also to create dynamic labels, e.g. low stock or budget or over budget. So this is where the if function is all mostly used. It is used to state conditions. So now let me So this slide shows the data of its sales, and we need to, it shows the data of sales and the condition. So the condition now state that if A2 is greater than 100, that it should return yes. And if A2 is lower than 100, it should return no. So let us do this and check how it works. So let me click on another sheet. So okay, let's create another sheet. Now let's first start by entering data. Let's start with customers name. Then we have products. Then we have amount spent. Amount spent. So now let's assume the organization. Let me type the condition here. Let me call these conditions. Okay. Now, if you look at my cells, you see that the value I enter here, which is customer product and amount spent, they have crossed the cell A1 or cell B1. They have crossed each other, so the texts are overlapping. So if we experience something like this, so all you need to do, instead of dragging, if you drag this, it will work. But instead of doing it one by one, the first thing you need to do is just to move your cursor to the top, to the first column, which is A. Then you drag it to the next, let's say to D. Then after you've highlighted the whole cells where you have inserted your values, then you move your cursor to the line here. As you can see, as I move my cursor to this line, hope you're seeing my cursor.
Yeah.
Okay, you can see that it is changing. It changes from this big size to a solved cursor. All you need to do is just to double click. Then after, once you double click, it will automatically give space to fit in whatever you type here. Now, let's say the first name is John, the first customer, let's say John, then enter. So mind you, if you press enter, your cursor will return down. It will move down. So enter, let's say Paul, enter, then say Moses. So if you observe that once I press enter now, instead of, okay, let me press enter now. I've pressed enter, my pen or my cursor moves down, and I press another enter, it moves up. So that shows that if you want to move your cursor whenever you are done typing, if you want to move your cursor upward, all you need to do is press your shift key before you press your enter. So you need to hold down your shift key before you press your enter. So once you hold down your shift key and press enter, you are telling the cursor to move upward instead of downward. So that is how it works. And you can only use this assuming you have entered a particular data and you observe that there's an error from the previous data you enter. All you need to do is just press your shift, then press enter. Instead of moving down there, it will move a space. Now, the product, let's say, wristwatch. Okay, let's move this. So wristwatch, let us autofill this. So let's say that the amount spent here was spent, let's say 3,000. Enter. 1,500. Enter. 25. Enter. Now this is the discount column. Discount column. So now this is the condition we want to give. Let's say this is the condition now. Let me state the condition 2,000. Then the discount, how many percentage? So the discount would be in percentage. Let's say the organization wants to give out 15% coupon. So the organization wants to give out 15% coupon to the best customer that has spent the highest, or they have spent more than or equal to 2,000 naira. So if the customer meets the criteria for the month of June, the customer has spent $2,000 in the month of June. So the customer is eligible to 15% discount. So the customer is eligible to 15% discount. So hope you are getting what I'm doing.
Yes,
Okay. So now let's assume we have multiple, because in an organization of a bigger firm, so we have more data. So we have more data. Let's assume, let me replicate this. Okay, let me also replicate this. Okay. Okay, let's leave it this way. So the most important thing we want to do is the formula. Now, the condition we want to state now is the if function. Now, the first thing, as always, is to type in our equal sign. Then the second is the function, which is if. So our function should be in capital letter because Excel are case sensitive. So you must type your function in capital letter. Then if, then the second thing we need to do is open our bracket. Then what we want to satisfy is that if this particular customer, let's say customer John, which is spend 3,000, which is C2 is greater than, let's say greater than this, which is our G5. So G5. So let me show you another thing. Then we'll put this dollar sign. So the reason why we put this dollar sign is to lock our formula, because we are working, we want to autofill this place. So we want to make use of autofill to replicate this formula in the other cells. But this cannot work because without the dollar sign, because the cell we are referencing is not in the same um, is not in the same column with other cells. So since we are making reference to cell G5, so that means if we want to autofill the rest, we need to lock that cell so that the rest cell, we understand that, okay, this is the formula that has been used and it will replicate that formula. So the next thing we need to do to satisfy our condition, then you enter comma. So what is the next condition? The next condition is that if John meets with the criteria, spend above 2,000 or 2,000 or and above, so John is qualified. So we need to choose John again, which is the amount John spent. Click on that cell again. Then the next thing we need to do is to add our multiplication by pressing our Shift and 8 on my keyboard here. Shift and 8, then it will bring out the asterisk. So the asterisk here shows multiplication. So Shift and 8. So what are we now multiplying this to? Is the discount here, which is 15%. Now we have done that. Then the next thing is to put in our condition. Our condition now is we need to open, let's say, qualify. Let me say something. Then not let's say no. Let me enter my cell.
Hello, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so it seems that we have entered the wrong formula. It said to get help with this, press OK. So there's a wrong formula we have entered. So the condition is for us to calculate the discount that this person will receive. So now I want to show something. So if we'll autofill this, you can see that the other cells are showing 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Why? Because there is something missing. Now, if you look at this space, you can see that we lock this the condition, which is 2,000 in G5. Then the other one, which is H5, we did not lock it. So we need to lock the H5 as well by pressing our Shift 4. Let's see. Okay, something is wrong here. So if you look at this, If you look at this cell, and if you type to check, you see that instead of the formula making reference to this particular cell, instead of it making reference to this cell, it's showing something different entirely. So that is the issue here. So how do we rectify this? How do we rectify this?